I don't know, man. I'm just a guy. Alright, I'm playing chess. Alright, so last weekend I played in the Colorado Closed, which is an event where they take the top 6 highest rated players in Colorado and they play a round robin, 5 games. I didn't play in that section. I played in the Closed Challenger, which was the next 6 people. And I was the lowest rated, and I got 2.5 out of 5. So the person who won the section won 4 out of 5, and his only loss was to me. And this was my game. But I also streamed it, like, in the VODs if you want to go check those out. But, okay, so I know that he plays the London. Normally he plays 1c3, because, you know, the ratings were, I was 2,000, he was like 2,100. And the last game we played did not go well for me, although it was very interesting. I think it was about the same up until here, and he played 95. And in that tournament, I kind of, like, got killed in both of my games with black in the London because they played g4 and I didn't know how to handle it. But this time I prepared a little bit. I thought there was a pretty good chance he was going to play 95 again. So I kind of looked at how to handle it. Last time I think I played like queen c7, knight c6 type shit, and I castled and he just like threw his g-pawn at me and it was scary. So I had prepared the move c4 here, which is normally something you're never gonna do in the London, because you're just like releasing the tension and making kind of a target to attack. But you know, here it can be okay with the knight on e5. If I don't, the whole point of this is that he's not going to get a bishop on d3, and he's just never going to attack me if he doesn't get a bishop on d3. And if he plays b3, I don't know. I think maybe it was a different move order I looked at, and I'm just an idiot. But I remembered seeing like b5, a4, like sometimes you can play b4, c3 at some point. You know, now that I think about it, I'm pretty sure it's supposed to be like this. Yeah. And you can play b5 here. Yeah, this is what I was talking about. And then there's b4 and c3. Or not c3 right away, but I take on b4. I can play b3. And black is taking over here. Did I really not play the right move order? I'm embarrassed. Well, anyway, then he played knight d2 and I castled and it transposed. So there you go. I'm an idiot. But anyway, I had prepared this, and by prepare, all I did was I was like, okay, c4 is a move here, and then, like, you know, the way you respond to this is with that and that and that. That was the extent of my preparation. Everything worked out. So he tried g4 anyway, because it worked so well against me. The thing is, you're just never getting an attack now, without your bishop on d3. It was a little scary, but I kind of expected this because he's kind of a psychological player and I'm kind of psychologically weak. But I decided this was bullshit and that I shouldn't worry about it. I just played knight c6, just developing a piece. I'm already kind of just threatening to play bishop e5, bishop d7. I can play knight c5 to d3, or I can just take on e5. And then I have the ready-made plan of playing b4, a5, a4, a3, you know, just steamrolling him on the queen side. So black's position is already just very good. And my opponent has been just lately not spending any time in any positions. So he just kind of quickly played g5, which is bad. So I think it's actually reasonable if I have to play like knight e4 or something, or knight e8. Knight d7, I believe, fails to knight c6. But thankfully I had looked at this, and I played bishop takes e5. If he takes, then I play bishop f6. And now I'm just gonna like break open the center, and his king is stupid, and he has no attack. So he has like 2 options. He can either take this way or this way. In the game he took with the bishop. I think in the post-mortem we were saying taking with the pawn is better, but I still like black here. Like, I still go knight d7. I can play queen c7 and just try and win the e-pawn, or I can go for some knight c5 shit. I can play b5, b4, I could play queen b6. I have a lot of plans, and his bishop is just stupid. Like, it's just a pawn with a funny hat at this point. It's really hard to say which of his bishops is his better bishop, because yeah, he needs his light squared bishop because he has so many light square weaknesses, But his darksword bishop is a pawn, and his knight is atrocious, and it's a very ugly position. Taking with the bishop, I guess, is a little bit worse, maybe, because it's sort of the same thing. I play knight d7 anyway. Again, I'm threatening to take on e5, threatening to take on g5. If he plays bishop d6, I play rook e8, and again, maybe play e5. I mean, his king is still in the center, so why wouldn't I do such a thing? He probably has to play something ugly like bishop g3 and just allow me to take on g5. It's just bad. White can resign, but he played f4 kind of quickly, which loses by force. But I had pretty good technique in this game. I think it's a little bit funny because this guy's dad plays the Stonewall a lot against me and always loses. And I like to say that he has his father's bishops. He inherited them, but he somehow got like a Stonewall setup. So okay, f4 I had already looked at. So kind of quickly take on e5. If he takes with the f pawn, the g pawn's hanging, the e pawn is weak. Like, his position is really, really hideous to look at. This might be better than what he did, and try and castle queenside. Although I can just play f6. Sometimes I might play queen g6, just not allowing, or I could, well, I don't know. I think f6 is actually just good, just opening the f file. But, okay, he takes with the d pawn, which allows queen b6 with a fork on the b pawn and the e pawn. And this is about as good as this position gets for the rest of the game. The structure is so bad because once the b pawn falls, the c pawn will probably fall. And I can reroute my knight to a dark square, then a light square. You know, for now my bishop is bad, but it's not going to stay that way. Eventually I'm going to break this shit open. So he plays king f2. What just happened? Okay, he plays king f2, and oh, I guess I put it in the wrong way at first. Yeah, I took with this pawn, or with this knight, because then my knight is already looking at c5. So king f2 is a sad move to have to make. I just take on b2. He has... Apparently rook c1 is a mistake. I thought it was like one of his only moves. He has to trade queens, but that's like resigning. And at this point, I can take on a2 if I want to, but I thought knight c5 was pretty interesting. Because, okay, his knight and his bishop are not developed by any means, but they kind of have to stay where they are, because he has forks to worry about on both squares, and if he tries to fix one piece, it leaves one of the weaknesses open. So, rook c2, and I just go back to b6, and I'm going to play bishop d7 to a4. Sometimes I can even play queen c6 and play d4 at the right time, because he can't play bishop b2 without allowing knight d3. It's just a very ugly position. So, rook g1, and the only way that this person ever wins games is if they're in a losing position, and then, you know, some miracle happens, like some silly trick. So rook g1 struck me as rook g3 to h3 and bullshit attack. But I didn't let it bother me. I just keep going with my plan. So, I'm making a big threat. And he has to play queen c1. And now that his queen's not on this light square, it's even harder to get an attack in. Rook g1, rook g3 smells. Yeah, but, you know, look at his position. It's so bad. Rook b8, I can play queen c7, b5, b4. I could play queen c6. I just have all the time in the world to improve my position, and he has to just kind of sit there in his filth. None of his pieces can move. These are my favorite positions. This is just kind of a very, very extreme example of it. So I can play queen a5 here, threatening knight a4 and just taking on c3. I just wasn't so sure that I should be blocking my a-pawn in case I wanted to just simply do a pawn storm. I play queen c7. I mean, it says inaccurate, but okay, queen a5 is plus or minus 3.7 and my move is minus 3.1, so pretty bad move, I would say. So pretty soon everything's gonna open up, because okay, he can't move either of these pieces still. It's even worse now that his queen is on c1, because it makes this kind of a ultra fork, or however you like to call it, royal fork. So rook g3, and here comes the unstoppable attack. b5, ignoring the nonsense. Rook h3. Okay. Sorry. How would there's many ways to deal with the attack. The best way is apparently to just not deal with it at all. I thought it could potentially be semi-scary. I didn't think it was going to lead to anything. But at the same time, I'd like to just kill his only... If his only hope is this stupid plan, like, this is his only legal move, basically. Those are his only moves that don't hang things. Why not just shut it down completely and just cut out all hope? I thought that was probably the most brutal way to do it, so I played bishop e8. And after queen b1, I have f5. Shutting down absolutely everything. He still can't get his queen here. If he takes with either pawn, like, opening the f-file could be deadly to him. And at this point, this is just happening. But he did end up taking on f6, followed by bishop g6, defending the mate threat, attacking the queen, gaining another tempo. And now I take on f6. I'm gonna open the f-file, and his king's gonna get checkmated. What attack? I know. Hey, you never know. You never know what I'll hang. I hang all sorts of shit. But okay, so this is the threat. It's looking pretty bad. This is mostly just like a fun game. My opponent played horribly, but he takes on f6, I take on f6. I have many things I can do from here. I think it's kind of funny that I can still just do this and he can't do anything about it. But he plays king g1, knight a4, attacking c3, and rook c2 is kind of the only move because he can play rook b4, but then I play a5. He can play this, but it gets captured, you know. Even if it doesn't get captured, I take on c3, and it's getting captured in an even worse way. So his rook is trapped. But I had to think a while here because I have trouble giving up my pieces for his shitty ones. It just feels really gross because I don't want his pieces because they're so bad. I don't. It's not a good thing for him to have those on the board. They just hold him down. But I thought about it and I found kind of a forced win, so I decided to just take it. Because now I play rook g6 check. King h1 I thought was kind of begging for it. But now I have queen g7. I was going to play queen g7 even if he played king f2. And I'm double attacking c3 and threatening mate on g1. Pretty disgusting stuff. So he plays knight f3. It's like the only move to defend the mate besides rook g3, which is obviously bad. Take on c3, can reroute the knight up in there, just push my pawns, can do whatever I want. Because again, his pieces can't move. I don't know, I don't think I've ever seen this many pieces that were this bad. I don't know if I've seen it. At least with a player who is halfway decent. At least, you know, where I come from. So knight g5 is kind of a last hurrah attempt at nothing. I just play h6 and he can't, okay, like, I can't even figure out a point to this move. Even if he had a forward move that was good, he would hang mate, so he just has to go back. I play knight e4, and it's kind of over. Bishop g2 surprised me a little bit, because it just allows queen a1 check, but he doesn't have a move that does anything, like he can move his queen back and forth. That's about it. So I play queen a1 check, knight g1, putting more pieces on the back rank. And I have a lot of wins here. I kind of like mine the best, even though I can sack my queen immediately. The way I did it also involves sacking my queen. This position is so brutal that, okay, we understand that this would be smothered mate if it weren't for the queen taking on f2. So all we have to do is deflect the queen from that square. So we can play a move like queen d1 here, and taking it would be kind of the sickest checkmate in the world. But I didn't see, like, I was like, okay, I can do this. Oops, I can do this, but I don't know. I could do this. This is a way to do it. But I liked playing rook b7 to g7, and then if he tries to play rook f3 to f1, I can actually just take it and then mate him on g1. I thought this was a much slower, more strangling way to do it, more humiliating. And he actually almost touched his rook to go to f1. and then he saw it. F5 is ridiculous. Take on g2, I take his pawn, and then I'm like still trying to be as accurate as possible here, even though I'm taking all of his pieces. I take on f5, and I play queen f2. I think this is very funny, because the computer says mate in 10 in this position if queen c2, but then after you play queen f2 it says mate in 8. What I really like about this is that the knight is pinned, and he can't really defend it or walk out of the pin, because he tries king g4, but I play h5, and he has to step back into the pin, and then he can't move any of his guys. So my boy's going for stalemate at this point. So I stalemate him, except for the fact that he has a pawn, and then he moves his pawn, and I got to play c1 equals bishop checkmate. So I was happy with that, because I've lost to this person way too many times. Usually he plays a little better than this, but he's been kind of unhinged lately. So there you go, there's my bishop c1 equals bishop checkmate. Felt pretty good.